Welcome to the RPG Podcast.
And we are live.
Oh, God, Patton!
Presented by SHEATH. A Time Wheel production.
Thank you for coming on. This week is a big week for us. You and I, we just released the Michael Malice Dynamite underwear pair, and it's going fast. People are loving it. Yeah, it really is.
I dropped it on my supporters group to give them the heads up, and a bunch of them scooped it up. I figured this might even have some resale value on eBay in the not too distant future. But I mean, limited edition stuff, that's like when I'm a fan of somebody, I like grabbing that stuff.
Absolutely. And you have your like super loyal fans that seem to be like, because you don't have like that many fans like compared to Rogan or these other names, but the people that are your fans seem to be like super loyal. And do you feel like you get a fair amount of credit for your contributions to the political spectrum, your analysis and opinions and stuff?
I don't know that I want credit, because when you have that credit, your the Eye of Sauron will go toward you.
True.
So I'd much rather say my piece and to some extent fly below the radar, because I have a lot of friends who do get more credit or acclaim, whatever you want to call it, than me. But that also comes with a lot of costs. So I'm comfortable kind of where I am.
Yeah, you're cruising, you're gliding. You got a nice setup, and
surprisingly drama-free.
Yeah, surprisingly, considering it seems like you try to stir up a little dust, but you don't get the backlash of a lot of people, which is nice.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell me about your childhood.
What do you want to know?
Your earliest memory.
Oh, that's a great question. I do have like a vague memory of being in the crib, but I mean, who knows if that's a real memory or whatever.
Yeah.
I remember I have a very early memory of us calling my great grandma in San Francisco and me hanging up the phone as a joke or whatever. I don't remember what it was, but they were yelling at me because it's so expensive to call. And I'd imagined her being in her hallway. You know, I thought I thought we were calling her, but she was in her hallway buzzer for some reason. I don't know, in her intercom. I don't know why I had that idea in my head. That's a dumb memory, but that's like one of the earliest ones.
Well, it's interesting because you have such a high intellect, I'll say, in my opinion. And I was just curious, like how far back you could remember, and like saying you kind of vaguely remember something from the crib is interesting, because I don't really have that like strong of a memory, but I'm just curious because we're all different scales of intellect and height and all of our different attributes, and I think you're on that side of the pendulum where like the Elon Musk level area.
I don't think intellect is that a thing? Like I think we assume that intellect and memory are the same. But it could be that like someone who's less intelligent might have a very good memory. I think they're different parts of the brain, right?
Yeah, that could like the Rain Man type scenario.
Right, but that's like an extreme. But I mean, it could be that the part of the brain, it's like one's like processing power, or one's like your hard drive or whatever. I mean, I can imagine. I'm sure they would tend to correlate, but I can imagine that some people who are just perfectly average intelligence really do remember. But they're called women. Yeah, they remember absolutely everything and then hold it against you for years. So yeah.
That's hilarious. You're so funny.
But am I wrong? Like
No.
Women remember things a lot better than men, or certain types of things, and that's not a function really of their intelligence. Right.
Yeah, I think whatever's more important to you, I guess, also you might tend to be more memorable, or some emotional attachment to a memory tends to lock it in place.
Maybe.
So, I mean, but that doesn't really correlate to what you were saying about women, except they're emotional, and so
and I don't know why I remember that story as a kid. Well, maybe because they were yelling at me, and that was the first time I was cognizant that I did the wrong thing. So that could be that. Who knows?
Oh wow, that just struck a memory from me when. This episode is brought to you by Third Eye Cacao.
We're so happy to have a brand new sponsor. We want you to support our sponsors because they make these shows possible. Third Eye Cacao is on a mission to preserve ceremonial grade cacao in the world and invite others on a journey from their head to their heart. Cacao is a fruit where chocolate comes from and is one of the most nutrient-dense superfoods on the planet. It has been called the elixir of the gods for its ability to open up the heart. Studies have shown that the same endorphins that get released when you are falling in love for the first time, cacao has the power to induce also. It's like the best feeling in the world, and cacao has that for you here at Third Eye Cacao. Overall, cacao has the powerful ability to begin any day with intention and ceremony. Use promo code TIMEWHEEL, that's TIMEWHEEL, at checkout and save 11% at thirdeyecacao.com. This episode is also brought to you by SHEATH, the underwear of legends. It is the underwear with the dual pouch system. One pouch for one part of the male anatomy, another for the other part of the male anatomy. Not only is the underwear the most comfortable underwear you'll ever wear, but it also has the most stylish designs and patterns. The fabrics actually have a cooling effect when you put them on for the very first time. Your body will thank you because it's one of the hottest parts of your body. So cooling it down with these special fabrics that SHEATH provides is a nice experience. The proof is in the pudding. We have a 100% money back guarantee on the very first pair. If you don't like it, we'll send you your money back. Go to sheathunderwear.com, use promo code RPG and save 20%. We appreciate your support. Back to the show.
My parents told me to go wash the car. I was like 5, and I got a wire bristle kind of pad and some soap in a bucket, and I went and washed the car with the wire brush, and I scratched it all up, and they yelled at me pretty bad.
Well, I mean, that's on them.
Yeah, I was trying to help.
Yeah.
And you know, they were young. Parents can, you know, they don't know what they're doing sometimes.
Right.
Were your parents pretty like? Do you have brothers and sisters?
I have a sister who's a lot younger. Yeah.
Oh, that's right, because you have your nephew. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you were the only child for a while, and you were the first child, and so they didn't really maybe know what they were doing, but they seem to have done a pretty good job. Do you feel like they did a good job? Parenting is hard.
I think they could have done a better job, but sure. I mean, they got me out of Russia, so that's kind of really is the most important part.
That you just, sorry, reminded me of Gary V. You know who that guy is? Gary Vaynerchuk, because he's from Belarus, and you guys both kind of look similar in a way. I hope that's not an insult.
We all look alike.
Yeah, but then you also are very, you know, hardworking. That immigrant mentality, kind of just you are successful in America, which most immigrants tend to be. I know you were young, so I don't even know if do you consider yourself an immigrant?
Well, yeah. I mean, I wasn't born in this country.
Yeah, I know, but you were like raised here.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm an immigrant.
Right. Okay. But a mentality can be derived from growing up, you know, like 13 years, 15 years in another country and seeing how poor it is, and then coming here and seeing all the opportunity. But maybe your parents helped instill something.
Well, they didn't really instill American values in me. They didn't have American values.
Yeah,
so
I instilled an immigrant.
Yeah, I was very much raised in a Russian household with a Russian mindset.
And like, what is that? What is a Russian mindset?
There's a certain amount of, I don't want to say cynicism, but a very big awareness that people say one thing and not to take things at face value. So that's a big part of it. A big part of being aware of who has power over you and take that into account. A lot of suspicion.
That's horrible.
It's not horrible. It's smart, because think about it. When you're in business, right, and you and everyone else listening to this who's in business knows that a lot of times when you're working with someone who's a vendor or a photographer, they'll flake or they'll have some excuse. This happens all the time, right? It doesn't have to be malevolent. So when you have this mindset, whenever you're interacting with someone, you ask yourself, okay, if this person screws me over, or if they're just a screw up, what's my plan B? So you have this mindset. So whenever people often inevitably, flake or whatever, and people have it's amazing how comfortable people are not having their crap together, just like missing deadlines that they set themselves, and they don't care. They're like, oh, like I'll have it for you Tuesday. And on Tuesday night, they're like, sorry, dude, it's going to be another week. It's like, well, you knew it was going to be another week on Monday. Why didn't you tell me on Monday? Why are you telling me? So not only did you get the date wrong, you didn't even bother to tell me when you knew the date was going to be wrong. So when you have that Russian mindset, you anticipate these things and you have backups all the time.
That is smart. Backup plan. You never want to be like solely kind of having one like for us, as an underwear company, we don't want to have just one producer, we want to have multiple production options in case one flakes. So as in business, yes. So it's smart for business then, for sure. But for families, entrusting your family members or whatever.
It's very different in families,
okay,
sure.
Good.
But it's very much us versus them. There's not this mindset of like, hey, it's a party, everyone's welcome. Yeah. Like these are like American idea. Like, how Americans, like I've never met a stranger who isn't a friend. Like that is completely the opposite of Russian thinking. And I agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, well, you don't want to just be trusting everyone, I suppose, right?
But most people just don't even bring much to the table.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, why am I, like the thing is like this, like being at a party and small talk, things like that, they just drive me crazy. So that
it was funny. So I was at your birthday party this past year in Austin, and Lex was there, and everyone was trying to talk to him, and I was talking to him, and it seemed like he had a similar kind of mindset as you. Like the small talk was driving him crazy. He's like, I got to get out of here.
But Lex is also a lot friendlier than I am, but he's also, I probably think, a bit more antisocial. Being a robot and all.
Yeah, that will do it. Does he have a dog, a robot dog?
Yeah. I haven't seen it yet, but I think I know he was talking to Jordan Peterson about it.
Okay. I just saw some Elon clip with him, and I saw like this little perched robot looking dog, and I was like, okay, pretty cool. Off subject. I mean, you guys are neighbors, right? Pretty much. That's pretty sweet. I love that. You got the whole gang there in Austin. Loving that. Thanks for hooking us up with Blair White. That was fun. She did the pod last week, and we talked about you a little bit and she said you guys hung out for like 12 hours.
Yeah, so Blair and I have a very similar lifestyle in that, like, when I'm writing, I write for maybe 2 hours a day because it's extremely intense. And also, this is for all you aspiring writers out there. It's a good way to beat writer's block, because if I leave some in the tank today, that means tomorrow I'm not staring at my screen, driving myself crazy, right? I know I'm going to write tomorrow.
Oh, I love that.
So I do my 3 pages.
You don't try to write more than like do it all in one day. I'm sorry.
Exactly, because then it's really going to be emotionally draining, and it's a marathon, and you really have to worry about the mental issues that come with it. And you only learn this from experience or by listening to me or other people who've actually done it. So and with her, she drops a video like, once a week, once every other week. So we have a lot of downtime, but it's not downtime where we could really be working, because we're always on social media. That takes mental energy. So we just kind of hang out and watch stupid TV shows, because she moved to Austin the same day I did.
September 1st.
Yeah. No, it was August. It was like Sunday, whatever it was. Yeah.
Oh, well, right around there.
Yeah.
Okay, so you write for 2 or 3 hours a day. That's a great segue into kind of what I wanted to talk about, which was like how you've gotten to where you are, which you're a successful writer and commentator and to like talking head type individual. and I don't know if you just do it by nature, because there's like these 17 success principles that have been written about over the years of people that are successful, and they kind of condense what that similar attributes are in of successful people. Like in one of them might be like going the extra mile and doing more than is asked of you. Have you ever read books on success or anything like that?
No, I think those are too like white people stuff. Like I went to college full of like waspy white suburban kids. I'd never experienced that in New York City before, and they're all very big on that kind of stuff. So anything that smacks of that, I like run away screaming in the other direction. I think that's I think that's really bad advice to always go the extra mile, because then you're setting expectations unrealistically, because sometimes you're not going to be able to go the extra mile. You're just going to be able to deliver what you promised. And what I just said, like if I am going the extra mile, I'm going to have writer's block. So this kind of setting yourself up, you're setting yourself up for, it's like going to the gym and saying you have to give 100% every time. What if you have a slight shoulder, like something you pulled a little? You can't give 100%. Are you going to beat yourself up for it? So that's the kind of advice that sounds good on paper and is very kind of waspy Protestant work ethic, which I actually think is really horrible advice.
Well, doing what you say you're going to do is great. Like at least
that's not going the extra mile.
No, I know, but but it almost is. If you can
that's not extra.
I know it's not extra, but it's not. It's doing what you say you're going to do, and that counts for a lot today.
That counts for 100%, right? That's the thing I said. If I can count on you to deliver what you said on Tuesday, that's all I need, because I don't have to think about it. Like with your vendor, right? If I'm sure that maybe there's some vendors like, oh, we threw in some 100 extra pairs. That's nice. I want it. I ordered 3,000 pairs. You said May 1st. They're here May 1st. Next year, it's the same thing. I don't have to think about it. That's going to be your favorite vendor. You don't ever have to worry about their problems.
I know we have one of those. But if you're on the come up, you're a young whippersnapper and you're trying to make it in New York City, or Austin or wherever, that maybe might come in handy, to get yourself noticed and to, sort of make a name for yourself. And then you just kind of grow into we all go through stages in life. I was washing golf carts 5 years ago, and I was in the Army, and I was doing payroll, and the various stages. You don't start at the top, and so there's some principles of achievement that can be useful, and that was one of them. That's one example. So okay, I have a list here.
Let's go through them.
Well, all right. I'm creating a mastermind alliance, like a group of people that can sort of help motivate you, but also they're on a trajectory towards success, and you want to surround yourself with people who you want to be like type thing.
Yeah, that's a great advice. But I mean, it's very hard to do that when you're starting out.
Yeah, that is hard to do.
Yeah, it's almost impossible.
The book says to imagine yourself sometimes, like at the very beginning, if you don't have this group of people, you imagine yourself in a boardroom with like Abraham Lincoln and Tesla, or these people, and it's actually an interesting mental exercise to ask these questions of these figments of your imagination and see what answers come back. I've done it, and it's been years. Like right when I read the book, I tried it, and I don't really remember the answers, but I just decided at one point to practice these principles and see what happened. And it seems it's working out for me, and I kind of act like a prophet or whatever and try to teach what I use to get to where I am. But that's why I was saying for you, it seems to come kind of naturally. You know what I mean? Because
I don't think it comes naturally at all. I think I did certain things that worked and certain things that didn't work, but I would never give there's a story I've told fairly recently on some podcast, and it's something that resonated with me a lot. There was someone in New York, I don't remember the guy's name, and what his thing was, he had a nice apartment, and he would invite groups of people, like you would have to bring a friend, so there'd be like 20 people who didn't know each other, 15 people who didn't know each other, and everyone had to come in with an issue that they're dealing with or a problem, right?
Yes.
And then you had a room full of people who were somewhat intelligent. They would go around the room and give you advice. And since they have no skin in the game, they would give you honest advice and probably useful advice. And I remember sitting there, and there was someone who had an issue with a coworker. I don't remember what it was. And one after another, they go, oh, sit down and talk with them. And it's just like, even if that were good advice, how stupid do you have to be to think that the person asking this question hadn't considered that? Like, oh, I never thought of that. I should sit down and talk to them. Like, that's the most obvious choice. So at the very least, tell them something that they haven't heard before or thought of before, instead of literally the most generic piece of advice ever. So when I hear things like, you should always go the extra mile, if it's on a card that I could buy at Walmart or on a poster I could buy at Walmart, it's not good advice because it's nothing you haven't heard before.
It's reinstilling these good work habits or ideas to, like, for instance, what if you don't know what you want to be? Like, what if you don't know what you want to do?
That's good. I didn't know.
You didn't know. How did you figure that out?
I knew I didn't want to have an alarm clock. I knew I didn't want to talk to people unless I wanted to talk to them. I knew I just wanted to pay my rent, and I knew I wanted to kind of create something of lasting value so that when I'm gone, I left my mark. And that kind of shaped my path, but I did not know, and I wanted to be one of those annoying people on TV who run their mouths with their stupid opinions. Like, that's what I wanted, and it worked out. But a lot of this, we have a lot less control over our paths when we're young than we think we do. And we also have this sense of urgency, which is completely false, where it's just like, I met this one literary agent. This is my one shot. No, that's not your one shot. Like, how you're a kid, the first girl you break up with, you think, well, this is my one true love. I'm never going to meet anybody else. It's the stupidest thing ever. Yeah. Same thing with like career. You think, oh, I met this contact. If I don't have something come of this, it's my one shot. No, it's not. No,
it's not. And it's youth. The energy is wasted on the youth.
Yeah.
So one of you hear this guy, he's like a motivational speaker, and he's like, you gotta want it so bad that if you were drowning and you wanted oxygen, like, that's how bad you would want it. Like, you just want to breathe. But
you don't. Like, if you ended SHEATH tomorrow, you wouldn't kill yourself.
Yeah, no.
Right. If somehow, for some reason, you couldn't do SHEATH anymore, you'd be like, all right, I have some money in the bank. I create a successful company. Or if you sold it, you wouldn't be like, well, that's the end of me. You'd be like, great, now I have an opportunity to, do something else that I want to do. So this idea that you got to want it so much implies if it's taken away, it's the end of you, and it's not.
It does imply that. That's your brain works interestingly. Because I kind of like go with the idea, like, yeah, you need to want it. You gotta like want it so bad, because you're competing against other people. Like I compare it to fighting, and people, two fighters fighting for the belts, and you gotta want it better than the other guy.
Sure,
but that doesn't mean you're gonna win, because
right, exactly.
He might just be better than you. No matter how bad you want it.
He could be half-assing it, but he's naturally skilled, or he basically studied your tapes and he's like, I know these little tricks. So it's really, anytime, this is the thing why I hate this kind of space, because the motivational things are setting people up for failure. And I think about this in terms of like gym stuff, because if you have this like, oh, I'm only going to eat purple food for 6 weeks, or I'm going to make it be a willpower thing every day. Willpower is finite. So what happens if you have a system that's depending on willpower? You are 100% guaranteed to fail. And no one deals well with failure. I mean, you could deal well compared to other people. It's still not going to be fun to fail. So if you're setting yourself up where if I'm not the biggest underwear company on earth, I'm a disaster, that's false. SHEATH is very successful. You're not Fruit of the Loom. You're not trying to be Fruit of the Loom. And you don't have to be Fruit of the Loom to be successful. It's like someone who has $100 million telling you, oh, if I'm not a billionaire, I'm basically poor. Like, you're a crazy person. So this idea that you have to really, really want it hard also implies that it's such a priority that everything else in your life is basically not even secondary but tertiary, which is also it may be the case for some people that friends and family are not relevant. They're trying to change the world. That's fair for them, but for everybody, for me, for you, she's never going to be like, I'm getting us to Mars, and there doesn't have to be. It makes people comfortable. It's nice underwear. I enjoy wearing it, but it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, there's more than one way to skin a cat, and obviously you can become successful without following these principles. And I do like what you're saying about leaving some in the tank.
Yeah.
Because then that's good advice.
But that's the thing. You just said there's more than one path. When he says you have to want it, he's lying.
Yeah.
It's a lie. That's these people. So that's and I think it bothers me when people lie to young people who are looking for guidance and really making their personalities horrible, because then when you try to work with them, there's that one who's like, come on, we got to do this, team. It's just like, I don't really care about this project because I'm working for some company where I actually want to be a writer. So I'm never going to care as much as you, nor will the rewards be anywhere of value to my life. Like if Goldman Sachs, I did time at Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan doing tech support. Like if this project really went through, what impact would it have on my life? I don't care.
Yeah. Those companies are huge though. Like
exactly.
Right. Like if one of my team members makes a significant contribution,
sure.
They kind of like it, the whole team feels it, and that can be good, but like in such a large corporation, you can kind of get lost in these little projects, I think.
Right.
And not really feel any sort of positive sense of accomplishment or whatever, because it's just like. But
there's not even any positive ramifications. Like maybe you get a bigger bonus at the end of the year, and that's money's certainly nice. But in terms of like, I've done something with my life and time. Money is the utility of money goes away very quickly in terms of like when you're 80 years old and you look back and people are like, what are you proudest of? It's not going to be like, oh, that one time I was at Goldman and we pulled off this project and my bonus was 10K. No, it's going to be, I went on vacation or, right. I did, other things.
The time I went to Malice's birthday party.
Yeah.
That was a moment for me. I thought it was pretty cool.
Moment for me too.
Yeah.
I hadn't celebrated my birthday since 2010 because my mentor died on my birthday.
Oh my God, that's horrible.
Yeah.
A mentor, that's a principle of success.
Very much so.
Can you tell me about him or her?
Sure. Harvey Pekar, he was the star of the movie American Splendor. He wrote comic books about his life as a file clerk in Cleveland. He was a frequent Letterman guest, and he wrote a book about me called Ego and Hubris, which has gone down in price. It's only $300 on eBay now.
Wow, nice. I might have to catch one of those.
Good luck. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, very cool. And
it's not worth $300. You people are overpaying.
It's the limited edition aspect of it.
Well, no, it came out in 2006. It's out of print.
Right.
So yeah, it is limited edition in a sense. Yeah.
Very cool.
It's not limited edition because they could always reprint it.
But they choose not to because they don't think that it's worth it right now?
They choose not to because publishing is so backwards and broken that they don't understand how markets work. Like if I was Ballantine, I don't know who owns Ballantine right now, that's who put it out in 2006, I would look at my stock of books and I'd have some kid make some kind of macro. Oh, look at the puppy. Make some macro so that if any of the books is hitting high numbers on the resale market, that's my cue to do a reprint of it. And that's free money for me. But they don't think like that.
Oh, well, you have an interesting way of thinking about like business, for instance. Like when we work together, it's interesting because you seem to just you offer value and then you sort of be like, okay, you pay me what you think it's worth. And then we both seem to agree, I guess, because I offer you something and you say, okay, that works. And then that's not normal business practice, I don't think.
Oh, I mean, I just like Sheath. I like promoting a product I believe in. I think it's just fun that I could put underwear model on my resume. That can never be taken away from me. So it's everyone wins.
Yeah, that was really cool. Very excited. Get your Malice Dynamite pair out at the on sheathunderwear.com. And also we wrote a really
Promo code
cool
Malice for 20% off.
Absolutely. Definitely get that code in there and save some change. We released a really cool article kind of about you and your kind of story of things. Like you went to North Korea or whatever. That's pretty a rare thing, I would say, for like an American. I think we kind of talked about that, but how did you make that happen?
It was legal at the time. Yeah,
Okay.
they were just looking for tourist money because they have nothing really to trade internationally. So they were piece by piece opening it up to tourism from the rest of the world.
Did you see anything real, or did you see everything like produced stuff? Kind of.
Pretty much everything's real because you're in the capital city. So, but they took us to like a fake school, the school and a hospital where some parts of it were set up for display purposes. Clearly, because they don't really know what the rest of the outside world is like. When they're trying to lie, they're really bad at it. So like they'll be having a computer, but the computer's not plugged in. So like, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. It's just like, yeah. So, but it's very real what you see because you can't. There's mildew everywhere and stains everywhere. Like there's no electricity at night in the capital city. There is. I mean, there's some of it, but it's not like New York City or London or something like that. So yeah, it's been 10 years now since almost 10 years.
Wow. Yeah, and you can get Dear Reader. That's a great it's like an autobiography, but
it's an unauthorized autobiography. Yeah.
Yeah. Very funny. Very interesting. Kind of. You have. That's a good idea for a book, I guess is what I was thinking.
Who gave me the idea for that book was someone named Justin Esch, and Justin was the brains behind Bacon Salt and Bacon A's and Bacon Lip Balms and Bacon Coffins. So he's just like you. He reminds me a lot of you. He's from Colorado. He's a young entrepreneur who just really, his brain works in that way. And he's like, you should do Kim Jong-il's autobiography. I'm like, that's a great idea.
Wow. That is a great idea. Good. And I remember you were carrying some of his products. I think you had some aftershave or something that smelled like mayonnaise or something.
Oh, I don't remember.
It's vague memory of it. You had some kind of shaving butter that was like, it was just an odd fragrance, I think, when you were.
I do have a lot of shaving soaps, but I don't remember which one I had at the time. Yeah.
As I was thinking about doing this with you, I was having ideas of, in my brain and whatnot. And I thought maybe anarchy, you kind of proposed that as a way of society. But prior to government, it was anarchy, right? And as an anarchist sort of like natural way of existing, we as a people, I think, kind of decided maybe we need some sort of governing body to keep things in order. Do you think
we as a people can't make decisions? Individuals can only make decisions. There's no such thing as people's thinking. Certainly we don't know how governments came about. Certainly animals have hierarchies. Dogs have a hierarchy. Do you want to call that a government? Do you not? I don't think that counts as a government.
Okay.
But so certainly the term pecking order, which we're all familiar with, comes from birds. It's the order which they kind of get the food, things like that. So there's that kind of that big man theory of government, that there was a tribe and whoever's the biggest was in charge. That seems to be kind of maybe that works with animals. I don't think that makes sense with people, because if you look at tribes, it's almost never like the biggest guy who's in charge. It's going to be some older, more intelligent person. It's a lot easier to rule or lead as a function of your personality or your intellect than a brute strength, because even that one biggest guy is not going to be as strong as everyone else in the tribe put together. It's going to be he would take people one-on-one like Bruce Lee. But again, Bruce Lee is another good example because he wasn't a particularly big guy. He was tiny. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of a myth people have, that like the biggest and strongest tend to rule. Whereas I think even in tribes nowadays, that's not the case at all. So in terms of, so it could have been simply that, you know, a bunch of people who were important in whatever sense you want to call it in that group, you know, made themselves the aristocracy and convinced everyone else that they hadn't, you know, that was the case. We don't know. I mean, this is just me completely talking out of my ass.
Charisma, you know, there's like some dude that's a smooth talker and he's telling everybody what they want to hear, and I'm gonna take this tribe to the top. We're gonna be the top tribe in the whole region.
Or also just simply like, hey, you go hunt, you go forage. Someone who's just simply a good manager.
Yes.
And if that person results in that tribe thriving in terms of having access to food, and that would be a much more effective leader than someone who's just simply strong. If someone can manage all these human resources and you know, be aware of the weather and know the good hunting spots and know the good, you know, gathering spots, things like that, and he has this strong woman by his side, and she knows how to manage the females, I think that would be the path toward. But even that would be, if everyone's doing it voluntarily, is a form of anarchism.
Yeah, totally. And well, we have Biden, right? So like, I don't think he's that strong leader that can kind of orchestrate who does what. No, not at all. But everyone thought Trump was going to be that guy because he's a businessman and he gets projects done under budget.
Well, he said that was his promise, right?
But then he got like kind of blockaded. I mean, I don't want to defend him too much or whatever, but he got railroaded like completely.
No one told him to hire Reince Priebus. No one told him to hire. Someone told him to hire Reince Priebus. Someone told him to hire John Bolton. Someone told him to hire to keep on. He's the one who brought out Fauci. Never fired Fauci. Yeah. He's the one who brought out James Comey, Rex Tillerson. So during the campaign trail, Trump said, "I know the best people are the real killers, and the people who aren't so good. And I'm going to bring." He said he's going to bring in these team of outsiders that no one knew in terms of politics, and it would be a completely new approach. And he brings in people who everyone knew from DC, and Omarosa. So he completely was talking out of his ass in terms of his staffing decisions. And I think that really hurt him as president. And that's really going to hurt him if he wants to run again, because why would I, if I were an accomplished individual, join this administration only to, whenever I leave, have the president go on Twitter or Truth Social and call me a moron?
Right.
And my life is ruined because I'm tainted with the name Trump, and now people don't want to work with me. So he really is in a bad spot in terms of staffing. Yeah,
but the idea was a businessman that could come in and shake, you know, not necessarily even drain the swamp, but just like, how about stop spending trillions over budget?
And that didn't happen either. Yeah. No. Like Bloomberg is a better example of what Trump was arguing for, Mayor Bloomberg of New York, because he followed Giuliani's path. He had a lot of really kind of dictatorial ideas, like you can't drink too much soda, you know, we're not going to have too much traffic, we're going to make these little parks and whatever. But in terms of crime and quality of life, it was pretty darn high in New York under him, especially after what happened after him. And he was a businessman who was not particularly ideological, except on issues like maybe like guns, which there's not really any disagreement in New York City among the populace. The people who are for gun control laws, the numbers are through the roof. So yeah, I mean, that was an example perhaps of what Trump would have, a businessman president would have looked like.
Yeah, and I mean, we still have like almost 3 years left of this dude, and
it depends if he lives through 2024. I mean, he's clearly on his last legs, and the presidency is the hardest job on earth. It's not going to listen. If you're 40 and this stuff is going on right now with Putin, Ukraine, you're not sleeping easy.
What's going on with that? Because I think it's all bullshit, and so I'm not really paying attention.
Yeah, I don't think this is America's problem.
Yeah, it's just like.
And I was born there.
Yeah. Okay. So then we agree that like, hey, let's just let them deal with their thing, and we'll do our thing, and like we've tried this before, like it didn't work.
Right.
So multiple times.
And even it's much more Germany's problem than ours.
Why?
Because they're right there. I mean, they're next door neighbors basically. So like, I can understand how there's a concern. Like, okay, if he takes these breakaway republics, he's going to move on Ukraine, and then he's basically, he's on Poland's border, and Germany's right next door. Like this, we need to kind of reinforce the idea that you don't just get to send tanks wherever you want until someone puts a stop to you. I get that, but yeah, let whoever the newly elected chancellor of Germany make that argument. They've got a lot of money. They've got a lot of weaponry. They're the front lines, and you got England and France right behind them. So by the time it gets to us, we got a ways to go.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. You said Poland, and when I was growing up, this is totally tangential. There were always these dumb Polak jokes. Like, why is that?
I don't know. It's a very weird thing. Like how just some random group gets to be the target and have this bizarre. I know a lot of Polish people. They're not particularly unintelligent at all. So it's a very weird how that happens. And I don't know that that's the case in Eastern Europe. I think that might be more of an American thing.
Yeah, it struck me as odd, and I've come across Polish kind of. And people that are Polish from Polish ancestry, and like Michael Bisping, for instance, is Polish, and he's pretty smart, considering he's been hit in the head so many times by Dan Henderson. That bomb. Do you remember that bomb that Henderson knocked him out already? He was knocked out, and then he jumped up and like flying punch and like a net one extra bomb to Bisping's head. It's a meme.
Oh wow! Holy crap! Okay.
I don't like stuff. I love watching the fights. I love the martial arts aspect and the competition, and like the pushing yourself to the brink. But I don't like when someone's dominating another fighter and just beating the shit out of them. It's like, and the extra hits at the end, or like sometimes I'm yelling at the ref, like, stop the fucking fight.
I remember a fight many, many years ago, and it was like, I think it was Nate Quarry, and he got knocked out, and he was like laying there with like his arm up and like one leg up in the air, and my friend's like, he's dead. Like, it was really kind of, and also the worst I've ever seen, which I think is pretty much agreed is the worst ever, is when Anderson Silva broke his shin against the other guy's shin, and his leg did a 180. Like, I didn't really think that was a thing, and you watching it, you're like, oh my god, you're Plastic Man now.
Yeah, his leg wrapped around. What's that guy's name? It's irrelevant. Then that guy ended up breaking his leg.
Is that right?
On another dude. Yeah.
He broke the same thing?
He did the same thing like about 2 years ago. It's
like watching the movie The Ring. You're like, you're going to, if you have to do it to somebody else, and then you have to keep pouring it forward.
Yeah. And Weidman, his name is Weidman. I can't think his first name. And then Conor McGregor just had that happen to him also.
Oh, God.
Yeah. But those are the three people that's happened to. And what did you think was going to happen? You're kicking the dude shin to shin as hard as you can.
But but people do, that's kickboxing, and that doesn't happen normally.
Right. I'm just kind of joking. What did you expect? That's funny. So you're do you read a lot?
Yeah.
Tell me what are you reading now, if you don't mind?
I'm just reading research for my next book. So it's there's an essay I'm reading called Faith, Reason, and Civilization. It was written by Harold Lasky, and Lasky was the inspiration for the villain in The Fountainhead. Okay. He was also head of the British Labour Party. He was basically a commie. So this is like a 1940, early 40s pro-commie essay written from a British person during World War II.
Interesting. Pro-communism. Okay.
Yeah.
You said The Fountainhead, which was written by Ayn Rand, and you have like a fascination. What's your deal with her? You know?
I think she's great. She's been a very inspirational figure to me and to a lot of other people.
And like how?
Her insistence on integrity, her view that you've only got one shot at this world, so make it count. Her statement that you can't live your life according to accommodating other people and pleasing them, nor should you. So those are kind of some of the things that I've taken away from her.
And you get those out of like the Fountainhead or Atlas Shrugged, or
It's much more the Fountainhead, which is it's not a political book. It's about ethics. So
I read most of it, and about the two architects, right?
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That was long book. I just finished the Alchemist, not the Anarchist. The Alchemist. Have you read that?
No, I haven't.
So good. It's by Pablo Coelho, and
Okay, yeah.
everyone. It's like this super kind of like Will Smith and Oprah and all that. They love it, but it is really good, and I highly recommend The Alchemist. But it's kind of like fanciful and talks about omens and following your heart, and the universe kind of speaks to you as you're on your journey towards your destiny.
Wait, I thought it's not a novel?
It is a novel.
Okay.
But it's got that kind of, well, it's just like these principles are embedded within the story.
Got it.
Now, there's another one though, like reading the signs and stuff. Do you ever read the signs from the universe?
Yes. I'm getting one now. RPG podcast.
They're usually more kind of like subtle.
I'm seeing some symbol. It means arrows to put your junk inside a pocket.
I love it. We're going to clip that, put that on the shorts. Have you been doing the YouTube shorts?
No, I don't even know what that is.
It's like TikTok for YouTube. You know?
Oh, okay. I'm a dinosaur. I don't know any of this shit.
Yeah, you got to cut it. You cut up your little up your
okay.
pods, and then you put them on the shorts, and that's just trying to get more awareness. You know, constantly trying to promote, and it's always changing. But you do the Twitter. I mentioned you on Getter. I posted the article on Getter yesterday. I don't know what happened. Oh, we posted it on a Michael Malice subreddit also, and it got.
There's a subreddit?
Yeah.
I didn't know. I really?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Whoever has that, shut it down. I don't want to be in that dumpster fire of a site.
Dumpster fire, Bridget Phagasee.
Yes, I love her.
Yes, she's pregnant.
Yeah, I just talked to her yesterday.
How far along is she?
Quite.
Yeah, I feel like she's right. She's about to pop.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's great. You like the crew that you surround yourself. That's the mastermind. I feel like, you know, you surround yourself with like-minded people that are ambitious and headed, you know, towards success, and you like, that's another reason why I was saying you kind of do these things, some of them naturally.
Well, I don't think it's natural. I think I am. I love being a Venn diagram, and I'm also excited and inspired when I have friends who are special in some way. So it doesn't have to be that they're like a household name, but like, let's suppose I have a friend and, you know, they have a boring job, but they're a really amazing singer. That's really cool. Mm-hmm. Or, you know, they've got some kind of amazing puzzle collection. I don't know, but that's what I kind of like to align myself with, people who are have something going for them in some way.
Me too.
Like, what's their story? You know what I mean? It's not that they're cookie cutter.
Yeah, exactly. Because, like, I was going to say, what's your story? But we've kind of been talking about it, but have we not touched on anything related to your story and you and who you are? You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of vague. Anything coming to mind there?
About what?
Oh, I don't know. You're just you. Like, and I'll give you like a little thing. You seem very zen.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, but you're also like this huge troll, and you're stirring up the pot, but you always are like super dialed in. You're like the eye contact,
Well, think about it. If you have an aquarium, right, and the fish know when it's feeding time, and you throw in the food and they all start swimming around, I'm not getting wet. So watching an aquarium is very zen, right? So when you have people online who are easy to upset and who it's appropriate to upset because they're not good people, whether good in terms of being good morally or good in terms of high quality, then there's no reason for me to be disquieted when they're losing their minds. In fact, if anything, it's entertaining.
It is entertaining. That's that's kind of why I watch the news, and or not. I don't really watch the news, but let's say I get my news from like Rogan, you, Dave Smith, Ron Paul, and that funny dude from Britain, Russell Brand.
Oh yeah,
love Russell Brand. Where do you get your news?
Twitter and Drudge.
A Drudge. Okay, I remember him. The Drudge Report.
Yeah.
Okay, that's still a thing.
It's like I think the fourth biggest news site.
Wow, I know it was like a thing in the 90s or something.
No, I could tell you, he always is boasting about his ratings. Hold on, if I look right now, no, it's not there right now. But yeah, his numbers are through the roof still, because he's just a compilation of news. He's not he's not writing anything.
Yeah, I know he has all these little all the headlines are like, I've been there, but it's been okay, so that's good. Those are two good sources for news. And so you said you kind of throw the chum in the water and let the fish kind of fight for it or whatever. It made me think about our overlords and the people that are running this experiment. And I feel like they do shit like that. And I kind of wonder if you think they exist and if they're doing that.
Well, yeah, I said that regardless of what you think of COVID and lockdowns, it's given some very, very bad people some very useful information about how much people will put up with. And we're seeing them reaching the limits now in Canada with the Ottawa truckers. My understanding is they're trying to do something similar with Washington, D.C. Australia, they're definitely pushing them toward the brink in New Zealand. So I think there is... I don't know. I do not think it's by design that they got to that point, but they're certainly learning, just like World War I set the stage for World War II and the New Deal. What is it that people tolerate, and when is it going to get dicey?
Like, a lot of people hated Trump, and I try not to hate anyone, but I don't know if I hate this guy, but like Trudeau, I really don't like that guy. Like,
yeah, he's a bad person,
but he's very handsome, and it's like gross. I don't like him.
Well, I mean, when you call diverse blue collar people Nazis, to say that brazenly is really, and when you threaten to take their kids and their pets away, that's so far beyond what I regard as acceptable. That there's no conversation to be had here.
He's what everyone was scared Trump was going to be.
Yeah.
And like, where's all this? Like, I feel like everyone should be kind of throwing their outrage at him and even saying the obvious, like, that's what we thought Trump was going to do, and now he's doing it in Canada. And kind of getting silenced now that he's actually he invoked those powers where he could
emergency powers.
Fuck, dude, it's like kind of scary a little bit.
Yeah, he's making the biggest ad for cryptocurrency we've ever seen.
I hope so, because I wasn't sure if it was the opposite.
No, the banks are hand in hand with the government, brazenly and explicitly seizing bank accounts. Crypto, you can seize some wallets, but if it's external, like on your they can't seize it.
That's a good point, because I have all my stuff on like my Coinbase app. I need to move it to one of those. What are they called? External wallets or whatever?
Yeah, exactly.
You just have to remember your codes.
Or just have it. I think they have them as thumb drives.
Nice. Don't lose the thumb drive.
Yeah.
I know Tim Dillon was talking about making a movie about somebody who lost their thumb drive, so to speak.
Oh, wow.
It was a whole... And like the family members are trying to find it, and it could be a good movie.
Yeah.
Good idea, theme for a movie. Do you watch movies?
Not really, because most of them are terrible.
Me either lately. I haven't been watching a whole lot of movies. I watched The Matrix or whatever You know?
I watched that with Blair. It took us like 4 tries. We couldn't get through it.
Well, see, Dave Smith said he liked it, and I actually I'll just say I didn't hate it. Like a lot of people, it was like a lot of people didn't like it, and you know, whatever.
It felt to me like a parody of a Matrix movie.
It was definitely pulling. I mean, like using so much footage from previous movies was kind of like,
Yeah, it was and the acting I thought was terrible. The love story is ridiculous because Trinity is not a sexy character.
I know.
She's a kick-ass. There's an asexuality about her.
Yeah.
Androgyny about her.
Mm-hmm.
So to have to be this love story is just like it's very. Keanu Reeves is not a particularly kind of sexy character either. So it's just a very weird that they'd have this love story at the center of it. But again, that could be a commentary on. A lot of this movie is a meta commentary, right? So it's like, okay, is the meta commentary that every Hollywood movie has to have a love story at the center of it? I mean, that could be one way of looking at it. So it's thought provoking, but it's not entertaining. The movie.
What's like your favorite superhero movie, or one of them?
Oh, that's a great. Probably Batman Returns.
With the dude that's dead. Is that the guy that he died from pills? The Joker? Is that not? No.
No. Batman Returns is with Dan DeVito, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Michael Keaton.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Michelle. Yeah, she was the Catwoman.
Yeah.
And Danny DeVito was the Penguin. I liked Superwoman. It was really good.
That's not a thing.
Wonder Woman.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry. Superwoman. There's Captain. Oh man, there's a couple of different ones, but I like this. I like the Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, that whole deal. The new director who's making those movies is like amazing. I don't know what his name is.
Okay.
But
I haven't seen the Wonder Woman 86, whatever it's called. I heard it's terrible.
I think I have an affinity towards her, I guess, or that story for whatever reason. I think it's good. I'm not sure. Well, so what do you think like superheroes represent to us? Why are we so fascinated with them?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's kind of like wrestling, but on a bigger scale, right? Because wrestlers are like these larger-than-life figures, and they're having these epic battles. And here, it's on a whole other level. It's not just like you got to fight in the ring; you're saving the world, or you can kind of move at the speed of light, or shoot heat beams out of your eyes. So it kind of makes things exciting.
Yeah, I think we hope one day we can be like that somehow, exceed our potential, and break free from our bondages of this body, And
that's where SHEATH underwear comes along, because it offers protection for both one part of your male anatomy and from your other.
Listen to this guy. He knows what he's talking about. Best-selling author on Amazon for a couple days, I do recall. You can get the Anarchist Handbook available now.
On the floor behind you.
So you make money off that when you put together a compilation like that?
Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah. That's cool. But you wrote your little portion. It wasn't just like a full compilation.
No, it was a full. I wrote an introduction.
Yeah.
And I wrote an introductory paragraph for each essay. And also, I curated it. So these are the ones that were kind of representative of anarchist thought historically.
And what's that guy's name on the cover there?
Louis Ling.
Louis Ling, and he's got the little dynamite lapel.
Yes, sir.
And that's what the underwear is a representation of. And what did he do?
He was basically arrested in conjunction. There was a bomb that went out in Haymarket Square in Chicago. A lot of cops died. A lot of people died. There was a riot. A bunch of anarchists were arrested in conjunction. He was one of them. He had been someone who had been making bombs in his house. And they sentenced them all to death. And rather than face the gallows, he had smuggled in a blasting cap into jail and blew off his own jaw, and then wrote on the walls in blood, "Hooray for anarchy."
Wow. That's pretty badass.
Yeah, and if you look at photos of him, he looks like Channing Tatum.
Very handsome.
Yeah.
Good jawline. He blew off his jaw. Damn. They don't like the anarchists. They don't like you questioning them, yet they say that we're allowed to like protest and have free press and freedom of speech.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's they Noam Chomsky has that quote. I'm going to mangle it about how, the way to maintain control is to have very intense debate within strictly limited parameters. So it gives the appearance that there's all these choices, but it's like us sitting here and screaming Coke versus Pepsi as the only two things anyone can drink. It's insane. But like you will say, of course it's insane. You're a Coke person. If we were all drinking Pepsi, we'd be happy. You're like, idiot. Coke is clear. And it's just like, you're going to give it to babies. You're going to give it to diabetics. But that's basically the premise of government, that there has to be one thing for literally everybody.
I like the idea, and we're coming close here, but of having individual states that have their own kind of rules, and you can do cocaine in this state, and you can prostitution over here, and abortions over there, and to an extent, I guess there's a little bit of that. I would like to see more of that. Of
course, absolutely. And I think it's going to be a lot more, because there's a lot less consensus in this country that Washington is representative of America as a whole, regardless of where you stand politically.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no consensus.
Yeah.
The furthest thing from consensus.
Exactly, yeah.
I feel like, but I don't know if you saw this, really, we're wrapping it up here, but in this weekend I watched the UFC, no one was wearing masks.
Oh, good.
Like all, there was just the fighters weren't, but the cornermen were, or the refs, or the judges, but no one in the background. So that was, I feel like it's over here.
I think it depends on where you live.
I guess so.
Like, I bet you in New York, they're all still masked up, and LA. Okay.
And the Canadian trucker freedom, I was like 1,000% for that, and I'm still am. I was a little confused by the American one, just because of the way it's already kind of winding down here. I feel like it's like a year too late. But what do you think about that?
I think they know what there doing.
Okay.
I mean, it's hard for us because we're not truckers. So if something is important to them, I mean, they should be listened to.
Yeah, I haven't really heard what they want from us, or the government.
I don't know either.
For here. For Canada, it's very clear. Here, right. I'm not so sure. And my concern is I have some shipments I need to get from Utah to Colorado. But they're not all participating. So a lot of trucks are still being, moving shipments and stuff. So they grease this engine. People need to respect the truckers a little bit.
Absolutely. That's the whole point of Fight Club. It's like, hey, we're the guys who clean your toilets. We bring you your food. We sweep the streets. Like, don't fuck with us. And they're right.
Fuck with us. Oh, that's such a great line. I've watched that's probably the movie I've seen the most times. One of my favorite movies.
And that's a very big anarchist thought. This kind of like, the working class, like, are really treated like crap and aren't given their due. And they, at the very least, should have a fair amount of respect, which I completely agree with. Doesn't mean I'm going to be palling around with the construction workers, but I certainly can.
And support them, or what you could hang out with them, but also support their, like lifestyle and right to freedom, I guess, ultimately.
Yeah, and want them to thrive.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Like you all out there watching the Robert Patton Global Podcast, we want you to thrive. Hopefully you got a lot of entertainment from this wonderful conversation with Michael Malice. Get your Michael Malice Dynamite limited edition pair right now, available at sheathunderwear.com. Get the Anarchist Handbook, available on Amazon and all of Dear Reader and The New Right and a couple others, I think.
Yes, sir. And Ego and Hubris on eBay for $300.
And you're welcome on all podcast networks.
Yes, sir.
This podcast, and great communicator. Thank you, Michael, for coming on the show.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you. I will see you next time, and we'll see you all next time. Peace.